Hello, everyone. My name is Keith Cirelli. I am the creator and narrator of this presentation titled Subconscious Mind, an introduction to the largest part of mind most are not aware of and how to protect it. I have noticed over the last 2 decades the way in which the system, the beast system, goes after the minds, the perceptions, the beliefs of humans, and the way in which humans can be led by beliefs, especially when it's coming from authoritative sources on the television. One of the things that has stood out to me relevant to that is the way in which they go after the subconscious mind. I do not believe that most people walk around with an understanding of what their subconscious mind truly is, the power of the subconscious mind, and the impact that the subconscious mind can have and does have on our daily lives, on our conscious awareness, while we're not even consciously aware of it. I started to see that things like subliminals were designed to impress upon the subconscious mind. And when I knew about subliminals at a young age, I began to stand back and wonder, why are the people that are creating the TV doing things that they wouldn't want us to know about and putting things inside of TV, movies, and other such things that sent messages to a part of the mind that we're not consciously aware of? That raised a red flag for me. So over the last 20 years since I awakened, I've been analyzing and tearing apart various layers of, let's just say, our reality and humans, how things work, why things are the way they are, etc., etc. And I've been able to unearth and come up with a lot. The reason I put together this presentation is to show people the importance of their subconscious mind. And I had someone ask me how to protect the subconscious mind recently. And I thought that it was probably better to do a presentation regarding that to explain to people what's necessary. Now, first, I wanted to show you that I am the author of a book titled The Virtuous Path, a book that I put together while in the darkness of the dark night of the soul. I was analyzing the human condition and recognizing the animal man, recognizing what it takes to transcend the animal man, recognizing the condition of humans, and recognize that virtues were a path towards that transcendence. So what I did was I wrote a book that compiled the virtues that I thought to be the most important, or some of the most important, in the walk of man in this reality. The link, the URL for the book on Amazon is there if you're interested. Now, just to give you a sense of the importance of mind, as before we get into this, a couple of quotes that I've said multiple times regarding your mind. If they can control your mind, your ass will eventually follow. And that's just the way we're made. We are a programmable species, and what goes in is going to dictate to a large degree the direction that our ass goes in life. And another quote that is just profoundly true, when I started to look at the layers of this and what they're doing to us, I started to realize that to control them, you have to deceive them at the most foundational layer of their being, what they believe and what they perceive. And you've got to start doing that when they're young as possible. It's just the way it works. That's why we have things like, well, indoctrination, I believe, is something that was intended for parents. However, this process has been hijacked in a multitude of ways. Therefore, what they get into our minds at very young ages, the foundational layers of our beliefs and our perception will be formed when they start doing these things as young as possible. And you can see that with religion and other things, other ideological things, other beliefs and perceptions that they want you to have. They weave these things throughout the themes of cartoons, sitcoms, television shows, movies, put it in themes of music, etc., etc. And it's just gotten more and more prolific as technology has become ever present in our lives. So just again to reiterate the importance of the mind, I will refer you to the principle of mentalism, which is a Hermetic teaching relevant to the nature of mind. And it purports that the all, which would be likened to the divine, the ultimate is, that kind of thing, that the universe is the mind of God, and that we all exist within the mind of God, and that within our minds is another fractal of the same thing, illustrating to us the importance of mind. It's the key to everything because it's where the pilot of the ship resides. It's where the spirit, the conscious experiencer, basically sits at the controls. Therefore, it's the most important thing because it's where we perceive and interpret reality. It's where beliefs exist and reside. And it's where our knowledge, where we have access to our knowledge and so much more. So the subconscious mind dictates a whole lot more to the conscious mind than any of us are consciously aware of. And when I first figured that one out, that surprised me because we like to believe that what we consciously think about and what we're consciously aware of and what we consciously think about dictates most of our mental activity. However, what is within the subconscious mind dictates a whole lot more to our conscious mind than any of us are consciously aware of. And the strange thing there is that we are not consciously aware of the level of influence and impact of the subconscious mind on our conscious mind and our conscious thinking and awareness. The subconscious mind is often considered to be significantly more powerful than the conscious mind by orders of magnitude. It would be the comparison of an old 286 computer processor to that of a Cray computer, maybe a quantum computer. While the conscious mind handles decision making, reasoning, and logical thinking, something the subconscious mind cannot. The subconscious mind governs emotions, instincts, habits, and automatic responses. I wonder if anybody actually realized that if you get triggered and you have an automatic response, that's coming from the subconscious mind. Thusly, inner work, which is the housekeeping, even shadow work, are necessary for many of us, yet most don't understand this. The subconscious mind also has a profound influence in behavior and perceptions based off of past experiences, your beliefs, and learned patterns, often without our conscious awareness. There's another thing where without our conscious awareness, the subconscious mind plays a major role. This means that what's within the subconscious mind can shape our responses and decisions more profoundly than we realize. This can manifest in how we react to situations, our habits, and our overall mindset. Both conscious and subconscious play critical roles, really crucial roles. The subconscious can be seen as a deeper reservoir of our thoughts and behaviors, often guiding us in ways we generally do not consciously recognize. Everything that you have ever been told, however it was delivered to you, whether it was with roses and kindness and sweetness, or vitriol and vinegar, so to speak. However it was delivered to you, it goes first through the conscious mind. And without filters, it goes right into the subconscious mind. which accepts everything is true, unquestioningly. Once it's in, it's in. And this is a very critical thing to realize about your subconscious mind. It does not have any filters. It does not have any ability to discern. It does not know truth from falsity. It does not know fact from fiction. That's why it's imperative for us to educate ourselves, to remove and to replace the things within the subconscious mind. You need specialized knowledge that first grants you access, then the knowledge to navigate, identify, and work through and replace and or remove what's within the subconscious that may have been negatively affecting you. It's effectively reprogramming your subconscious mind. For whatever reason, humans were not inherently imbued with knowledge of this. Now, I want to explain to you this little depiction. I've seen this depicted this way before. It works well, so I'm going to go ahead and use it for this presentation. So, as explained, everything first goes through the conscious mind. The conscious mind making up 10% maximum. The Vedics believe it's 10%. Us Westerners believe it's 5%. Same thing with subconscious mind. Us Westerners believe it's 95% of subconscious, and the Vedics believe it's 90%. But either way, we're working with a mere fraction. And the conscious mind, this small, paltry fraction of what mind actually is the master. And the servant is the subconscious mind. It does not have any of the abilities that the conscious mind does for logic, for reason, for deductive, inductive, and abductive reasoning, for analyzing, for contemplating, for any of those things. So everything that enters into the subconscious mind first goes through the vehicle of conscious mind. So all of our experiences, good or bad, all of the information we take in, whether it's somebody complimenting us or yelling at us and spitting venom at us, whether it's the information that we take in through TV, media, movies, whatever it is, everything that life has to offer us is going to come in first through the conscious mind. Now, here's the thing relevant to protecting, and I'll get into this a little further as we go on, the conscious mind, is that if the conscious mind, see, that's where our direct knowledge is, that's where our gnosis resides. Obviously, that's where our conscious awareness resides, and that is where our conscious filters reside. Our conscious filters are only going to be as thorough, as comprehensive, and filter as much as our knowledge level grants us. Our conscious filters are a byproduct on many levels of the knowledge that we possess, of the knowledge that we have worked for. The eyes to see is a byproduct of the knowledge that we have worked for. Well, conscious filters are very much a similar thing, because to the degree that we do not know, we then do not obviously possess the knowledge to recognize a certain thing, whether it's the tactics, strategies that they use to manipulate your mind, whether it's wrong, bad, false information, misinformation, disinformation. Without the foundational knowledge to recognize it, you're not going to have a filter to filter it out. Therefore, if you do not contain the conscious filters, the subconscious mind basically obeys everything that comes from the conscious mind, because the subconscious mind does not have the ability to discern or know right from wrong, fact from fiction, truth from lies. So basically it funnels in through the conscious mind, and if the conscious filters are present and it's wrong, false, bad information, it gets spat out. If from an experiential level, somebody's yelling at you, calling you names, putting you down, trying to demean you. And internally, you already know, I am not those things. I am an amazing person in whatever way. You have that visual of yourself in your head. Even though somebody's spitting venom at you, it's going to basically bounce off of you to a degree. It's going to be information that's spat out. It's not going to reach your subconscious mind where your self-image resides, your self-perception resides. Now, if you don't have a high image of yourself, and I don't mean that in an arrogant or narcissistic way, just a confidence about yourself to know that you're kind and that you're generous and that you're beautiful and that you're this, that you're that. When somebody's spitting this stuff at you and you don't believe those things about yourself, it is entirely likely that there will not be a conscious filter there. Therefore, through that kind of a horrible experience and the information that they send your way, if you don't have your own solid confidence or self-perception, what they say to you, however horrible it may be, is going to get into your subconscious mind. That's the way it works. If you know about yourself a certain thing and I'm hurling insults at you, your conscious mind, that conscious master, will spit it all out. It'll bounce off of it and it'll be rejected. It'll never get in there. And then as life goes on, let's say we don't have that view of ourselves. And the more we have interactions with people that aren't good, this stuff's going to continue to get into the subconscious mind and go down into the lower part of our subconscious mind, so to speak, and create our baggage. It's going to affect our self-image, our self-perception. It's really important that we understand how this works. Therefore, we won't allow ourselves to stand in front of somebody hurling insults at us, as one example. Or we won't sit in front of a media stream if we're not sure of what we're taking in. Those types of things, they may not have been great examples. So let's look over here. Troubles enter the subconscious mind from the conscious mind and experiences. And that kind of ties into what I was saying. Anything that we don't have the capacity to deal with here and eventually get spat out one side or the other will find its way and become our baggage, will become our troubles. The key to entry into the subconscious mind is meditation, the inward journey, and regression. These are keys that are most common methods, the most common methods of access, whether it's you doing it yourself or somebody regressing you. And regression is a lot of times done by psychiatrists and other people like that. So everything that goes into the subconscious mind comes first through the conscious mind. So without adequate filters or the capacity to deal with something, for instance, if I don't have the capacity to deal with somebody berating me, and it's just such an overwhelming experience, rather than process through it, I may just reject it completely and it'll get passed off into the subconscious mind. And all of those emotions and all of those feelings and everything about it that was too overwhelming, effectively, so meaning that which we didn't have the capacity to deal with, gets basically funneled into the subconscious mind, and it becomes yet another bucket or repository of unresolved stuff. And it's important to understand how this works, because we continue to collect buckets of unresolved stuff, and it all, unbeknownst to our conscious awareness, has a profound impact on us, how we see the world, on our beliefs, on our perspectives, on our perceptions, and it colors the lens through which we see the world, and that being our conscious perception. So let me finish. So without adequate filters or the capacity to deal with something, things get into the subconscious mind and are largely forgotten about, yet still fester under the surface. So a lot of times, to keep on keeping on, somebody doesn't want to deal with something, they'll stuff it down. That whole stuffing it down thing, because it's there, it's in their conscious mind, and they just don't want to deal with it. They don't have the capacity to deal with it. They don't have the time to deal with it. It's too overwhelming to deal with, because of the way it triggers them, so it all gets stuffed down. This is another repository of baggage, unresolved garbage, and trauma that we carry around that we call our baggage. If someone simply tells you something and you don't have the adequate filters, it will find its way into your subconscious mind. If what was said was hurtful and you don't already have the difference in perspective of yourself, what was said will likely make its way into the self-image part of your subconscious mind. So if you ever get to the point where you go to deal with that stuff, everything that made it in, everything that everybody ever said, that stuff still has to be dealt with. It's the type of thing where we were made, where you have to go back to it and through it. You have to feel it to heal it. Unfortunately, that's the way it was written. The subconscious mind, for many of us, must be reprogrammed because of the old programs that are running from all the stuff we got in childhood, adolescence, preteens, all of that stuff. When you wake up and become conscious and you realize you went through your own horror show of narcissistic parents or a troubled epigenetic environment, and then you got programmed with a whole bunch of stuff, unfortunately, that becomes our work to reprogram our subconscious mind. And just they're simple, but somewhat effective. Visualizations impress upon the subconscious mind. And to the degree that they work is the degree that you get your conscious mind and your conscious filters out of the way when you do visualizations. And that can be challenging for people. And then sleep audio affirmations can influence the subconscious mind while the conscious mind is out of the way sleeping. And there are other ways to impress upon the subconscious mind the things that we want in lieu of the things that we don't want. It just requires doing some research, educating yourself, and then putting in the time, which is effectively doing the work. Okay, the subconscious mind is a repository of information that shapes our identities and influences our daily lives in subtle yet powerful ways that we are not consciously aware of. That's going to be a reoccurring theme through this presentation, is that how unaware we are of what the subconscious is and does and how it affects us in all kinds of ways, our thinkings, our feelings, our moods, habits, etc., etc. The subconscious mind contains a variety of elements, including memories. Past experiences, both significant and mundane, are stored without conscious awareness. Our mind does not forget anything. Emotions, feelings associated with memories and experiences, good and bad, which can influence behavior and decision making. So if you have an entire repository of negative memories, negative feelings associated with negative experiences, this is how this stuff works. Unresolved traumas get buried in the subconscious mind. Issues or traumas that haven't been fully processed, which can influence thoughts and behaviors subconsciously. Again, we're not consciously aware of it. Beliefs and values, deeply held beliefs about ourselves, that self-image repository within the subconscious mind. A lot of people think that their self-image is held within their conscious mind. And I would say there's a part of it. That's where the ego resides. So there's a part of it that resides there, but the deeper stuff, the stuff that actually matters, the stuff that gives us the confidence to go out, to engage, to have confidence, that's the stuff that's deeply held within our subconscious mind. So deeply held beliefs about ourselves, others, and the world are formed in childhood and influencing our perceptions. Habits and conditioning, automatic behaviors and responses developed through repetition and reinforcement are contained within the subconscious mind, often operating without conscious thought. Instincts and intuition, gut feelings and instincts that arise based on accumulated knowledge or experiences, often guiding quick decisions. Fantasies and dreams, symbolic representations of desires, fears, and unresolved issues. often manifesting during sleep. Some random facts about the subconscious mind is that it is orders of magnitude more processing power than the conscious mind. The image of the 286 versus the Cray computer, which is considered a supercomputer. Maybe not anymore with the advent of quantum computing, but the Crays are, yeah. The subconscious mind never sleeps. It never forgets anything. Where your conscious mind forgets things, it's all retained within the subconscious mind. It cannot discern, hence the importance of protecting the subconscious mind. Contains concepts of self. The self-image directly affects conscious thinking, feeling, moods, and actions, and contains all of our unresolved traumas from life. Now, the other thing that we don't understand about the subconscious mind is that it is the great creator, and we are not consciously aware of that. To the degree that our subconscious beliefs that we are not consciously aware of supersede what our conscious mind wants, desires, or intends, the subconscious mind wins out every time because it's bigger and it's more powerful and it emanates more energy into the field where this law of attraction thing is going to be, the mechanics of it are going to be based off of the energy and the resonance and the frequency coming out of us. So the subconscious mind is the great creator of your life. Your experience of life is exactly what you are convinced of at a subconscious level. Isn't that a crazy thing? Your experience of life is exactly what you are convinced of at a subconscious level. And when you think about the fact that we don't know subconscious or consciously about these things within the subconscious, that there's a veil between the conscious and the subconscious. We don't have the tools inherently to get into the subconscious mind. We don't know what the keys are. We're not given any inherent understanding about the inward journey, which is the direction that we have to face in order to enter into the subconscious mind to do any spring cleaning or anything. So if the conscious mind intends, prosperity, if the conscious mind intends love or whatever it might be, ultimately, if the subconscious beliefs believe that you're always going to be poor, believes that you're not worthy of love, no matter how much you intend prosperity and love or companionship or whatever, it's the subconscious programming that's going to override it. Even if you're consciously intending and working to consciously put out vibes, your subconscious mind is going to override and take over in many respects. And this is what people don't understand. It is the creator because it is where we most interact with the field. You really have to start thinking about it from the context of no matter what it is that you consciously intend and put out, if the baggage within you and the energy that's emanating out of you that you're not consciously aware of supersedes that, you're going to play hell getting the law of attraction to work for you in any noticeable ways or many noticeable ways until a lot of that inner work and inner healing is done to get a lot of the baggage out of the way, to have worked through a lot of those negative emotions and feelings and traumas so that they're not there anymore to color the lens of perception, to influence the way that we feel and other such things. It's incredibly important that people understand and realize this. Now, everything that I'm saying about the profundity of the impact of the subconscious mind and what's in there lends itself to this is why they, the system, the powers that be, the cabal, the social engineers, those types, why they go after the subconscious mind in all of the ways that they do. This is why they use the tactics and the strategies that they know you're unaware of and won't and can't perceive if you don't have the knowledge. And they also do it knowing most people couldn't believe that they would ever actually do such things. And that's a big thing that gets in the way, is most people Maybe it's changing recently in the last 4 years or so. But generally, most people, I heard it from my grandparents and I heard it from my parents. They don't believe that the government or that the advertisers would ever do such dastardly things. So just to kind of reiterate, you can say to yourself, I want to be happy, or I want success. Yet the programming within the subconscious mind that you are not consciously aware of knows otherwise, believes otherwise. Therefore, it creates otherwise. And we are not consciously aware of this. Programming that we are not consciously aware of rules our lives. And that is a fact. So, moving on. Your conscious mind is the only place you can have conscious filters, obviously. And those filters will only generally be as good as the knowledge that you possess affords you. The more you know, the more that you can see. Thusly, your filters are enhanced through knowledge. If something, anything, gets past our conscious filters, the subconscious mind will accept and store it. Since much about our self-perception comes from within the subconscious mind, the more horrible things said or done to a child that doesn't have any filters, it all goes into the subconscious mind and gets funneled into the part of our subconscious that deals with, for instance, self-image and self-perception, and gets more or less locked in there, affecting the child little by little over time in subtle ways as the child grows with these things embedded into the recesses of their subconscious mind, many times put there by their parental figures, their family members, or their epigenetic environment. And this is the type of stuff that ties into some of the things that I've said, others I've heard say it as well. Parents that are still dealing with their own unhealed traumas, baggage, and wounding, and the behaviors that they exhibit in front of their children behind the closed doors of their own homes. They don't understand how all of this goes in to the subconscious mind. And the yelling and the screaming and the this and the that, it all has such a profound effect. And when this is being done to a child up until the age of 7 and even beyond, but we're most susceptible and programmable until the age of 7. Hence Ignatius Loyola's quote of give me a child until age 7 and I will give you the man, because they know whatever gets in there, for better or for worse, is going to have a profound impact on the developing child's mind and all of the other components of them, their self-image, their self-confidence, their willingness to do all kinds of things. And when parents don't understand this about developing children and may, for instance, as my own mother did, yell, scream, hurl insults, put you down, demean you, berate you, etc., etc., this stuff starts to affect your own perception of yourself in profound ways. And parents don't know this, or we wouldn't see what it is that we see out of grown adults in the world today. And I'll just leave that one to speak for itself. All external information clearly enters through the vehicle of the conscious mind. And if we do not possess the knowledge to identify something as bad, unhealthy, wrong, false, or any other label, this information gets passed into the subconscious mind for processing and storage, affecting beliefs and perceptions over time. All of our good and bad experiences associated with memories, emotions are retained within the subconscious mind. So this all becomes the stuff that has never been dealt with. And you're never going to get away with not dealing with a lot of this stuff forever. It will start to bubble up. It will start to find an outlet. In the context of the bad stuff, this is where we store our baggage, traumas, mental associations, and emotions. And this adds to the shadow. This adds to the darkness of the shadow. This adds to how, quote unquote, evil your shadow may ultimately be if and when you're ever unfortunate enough to have it triggered in this life. All of this storage from childhood, preteen years, teen years, early adulthood into adulthood anything that we didn't have the capacity to deal with in whatever way, life too demanding, didn't have the emotional EQ, the emotional intelligence to deal with it. It was too overwhelming to deal with. Jumped into another relationship and didn't have to deal with it. Some people jump from relationship to relationship, never dealing with any of the traumas associated or the impacts associated to having the other one fall to shit. So, however it manifests, humans, we tend to push down everything unresolved, and it goes into the subconscious mind. And we do this so that we can keep on keeping on, but we don't realize the effects we will experience further on down the path of our lives. Inner work and some parts of the shadow work involve dealing with all of this stuff within the subconscious mind. Basically, everything that's never been dealt with. Everything. Then, to deal with it, you've got to feel it to heal it. So we're made to have to go back to and through everything horrible that ever happened to us that we didn't have the tools to process, understand, and deal with. It's all stuff that got pushed down, is left unprocessed, never dealt with, and the memories and emotions that are associated to these experiences are in the subconscious mind as well. All of this in all of us, festering underneath the surface, out of our conscious awareness, slowly over time, unbeknownst to us. So all of this is festering underneath, out of our conscious awareness, slowly over time, unbeknownst to us. Then, out of nowhere, a trigger you didn't ever expect to get hit, gets hit. And whammo, there it is. And you get to see a side of yourself that you never knew was there. You get to behave in a way that is very unlike you when that's the type of stuff where this happens. This is why shadow work is so important to the healing and dealing and growing part of being human, because everything buried within the subconscious mind has a profound effect on our conscious thinking, and we are not consciously aware of this. And you got to wonder why that works that way. So unresolved childhood trauma, war, life devastation in whatever ways it manifests, etc., etc., etc. Whatever gets repressed goes into the subconscious mind. And for many of us, we are not going to be able to go the rest of our lives without dealing with what has been repressed. It's just the way it works. We can be profoundly affected by the largest part of our mind, by things that we have long consciously forgotten about. And the smallest part of our mind, where our consciousness resides, where the pilot of the ship resides, is almost never consciously aware of this effect nor its impact. That's something you just kind of have to sit with, that this part of our mind that is so big, that can't discern, etc., etc., has such a profound impact on us, and we are not even consciously aware of this. The impact, nor the impact, and this impact that this subconscious mind has can be profound on your life experience and everything else, as the subconscious is where we create reality, the place where we interact with the field of this attraction-based reality the most. Yet we are not consciously aware of the level or the quality or the quantity of the energy emanating out of us from this vast repository of unresolved traumas, undealt with emotions, memories, etc. Again, this adds to the shadow, makes the shadow even darker, more angry and resentful for those that will ever encounter the shadow. It seems as if no one considers the impact of the things going in the subconscious mind, let alone the subsequent impact of it coming back out. For example, behaviors, perceptions, and the impact of that we're not consciously aware of. And then it also affects beliefs that we may not even realize where we got those beliefs. It could be coming from someplace within the subconscious mind, because beliefs are in fact stored within the subconscious mind. This is why the subconscious mind is the prize for the social engineers and those they serve, because of all that goes on here. All that goes on here when you really start to think about what goes on. And when they do what they do without you consciously being aware of it, because they don't think you know about it, they don't think you've studied what they do, you don't have enough knowledge to recognize what they're doing, they get away with it all the time, every time. So, next slide. Consider that we are not even aware of what's within the subconscious mind and the degree to which it can be manipulated, meaning our subconscious mind, without our conscious awareness, unless you possess the knowledge that gives you the filters. That's why self-education is the key. Autodidactical self-education, if not scholastic education and higher education and maybe being educated by a mentor, something to that effect. That will give you the filters you need. It will provide you the eyes to see. One's knowledge level and the conscious filters that are subsequently built due to that knowledge are significant in protecting the subconscious mind from manipulation. However, they are not the only means. Knowledge equals conscious filters. And without knowledge, how could you ever have a filter? I mean, it just makes sense. Without this, you cannot have that. It's why it pays dividend in the long run to self-educate and be responsible for your own education in whatever way you acquire it. To protect the subconscious mind, inasmuch as is possible, from manipulation, you need knowledge in several key areas, and until you acquire it, you remain somewhat vulnerable to the more subtle forms of media manipulation, manipulation through propaganda, mis- and disinformation, etc. You need to learn about psychology and understand how the mind works, because then you'll be able to recognize when they're doing things to attempt to affect your mind. It's like a car. If you don't know how it works, you can't fix it. That's just the way it works. And I suggest to people that they have their own literacy about their own psychology and how they work and operate, so that those that are wicked and evil in the world can't, with their knowledge of this about you, pull your strings like a puppet. Another thing to do is to learn about, obtain media literacy. And some of that's going to come through your own knowledge about what's true. And then when you watch the media do what it does and you realize how much they lie to you. Also learning about things like double entendres and NLP and other persuasive tactics and strategies, so that if and when you are listening to or watching or taking in the news or whatever, just to get up to speed or see what they're saying, you'll then be able to spot what they're doing an awful lot easier, and it won't have an effect on you. Advertisers, learning about how they do what they do, and I showed you some of that in my other presentation about Know Thyself, because the advertisers are some of the most manipulative in their underhanded ways as to how they go after your mind, including your subconscious. Learning about philosophy and ethics teaches you about what's right and wrong in ways that some people may not. And when you understand ethics, you understand morality. That is, you will obtain through the study of philosophy and ethics. You'll then begin to be able to better recognize when it's happening, identify it, point it out, and when it comes at you, you'll be able to recognize it and spit it out. Self-awareness, consciousness, the penalty or the price for consciousness is being ever vigilant. So self-awareness is also something combined with your own knowledge level that protects the subconscious mind. And then sociocultural awareness helps to protect the subconscious mind, because they do a lot to manipulate us through the media using sociocultural tactics to manipulate people. It's really insidious, and there's more. I just threw certain things in there to kind of give you a sense of the kind of things you have to start to understand to be able to recognize all of the places and spaces, just the media, the politicians, Hollywood, and all of that stuff goes after your mind, and specifically your subconscious mind. But there's also ways that you need to learn, or things you need to know, and knowledge, foundational knowledge you need to have to be able to protect your subconscious mind from people that would endeavor to manipulate these aspects of you that aren't the media and the proverbial beast system. They could be agents of the beast system. They could be narcissists. They could be just evil, wicked, dastardly people. So anyway, when you combine knowledge in these areas with critical thinking and even some self-reflection, that's how you can create a defense against the subtle manipulations of the subconscious mind, or the subtle attempts at the manipulations of the subconscious mind. Now let's consider how we might protect against manipulation of the subconscious mind beyond media and advertising. One can explore knowledge in several additional areas. Interpersonal and communication skills, understanding the dynamics of communication. And this is where a lot of people on the neurodivergence spectrum falter, and it's not their fault. It's a byproduct of their condition being on the spectrum, where they don't understand the nonverbal cues. They don't necessarily understand the tactics and techniques of persuasion, even though they may be persuaded by it. But communication and understanding interpersonal and communication skills helps to identify manipulative behaviors in our interpersonal interactions. So being skilled with this, being versed with this, is one of the ways that we can protect our subconscious from the impacts of people who are trying to manipulate us through various types of communication and nonverbal things, persuasion, etc., etc. Our emotional intelligence, developing our own ability to recognize our own emotions and those of others, can enhance awareness of when someone might be attempting to manipulate feelings or perceptions. So if you don't have that EQ and somebody's trying to tug on your emotional heartstrings or manipulate your feelings or your perceptions through manipulating your feelings, you won't be aware. So all of this requires our conscious awareness. Anyway, critical thinking and logic seems obvious, but it's not necessarily something that everybody's using. To learn to analyze arguments, detect fallacies, and assess the validity of claims can help individuals resist manipulative reasoning in discussions and persuasive contexts. This is kind of a no-brainer, but it needs to be said, that you have to use logic and reason and critical thinking to analyze what people are saying, in no matter what arena it's coming from, whether it's somebody yelling at you and hurling insults at you, or it's media coming off the TV, or a politician, or any of those other things. If you don't use critical thinking and logic in comparison to your foundation of knowledge, then it'll be hard to detect the fallacies. It'll be hard to assess the validity of their claims. You know what I'm saying? So, and going back to this one, learning about psychology, psychological manipulation techniques. And when I say understanding psychology, I'm not suggesting that you become a PhD. I'm suggesting that you educate yourself in as much as you need to. For instance, if you're going to be a backyard mechanic, you're not necessarily going to rip an engine apart and rebuild it from the crankshaft up. But you're a backyard mechanic, you do bolt-on stuff, and you can do an awful lot of stuff. You kind of have to take the time to learn how all that stuff works before you can be effective at doing it. Well, the same thing about your own psychology. Learning enough to be an effective backyard mechanic, if you will, at least gives you the ability to be able to then see when that shoddy mechanic did something horrible. Something like, it's just an analogy. But understanding psychology and your own psychology helps you in better understand the common manipulation techniques that they use. Gaslighting, love bombing, guilt tripping, that makes it easier when you understand the psychological manipulation techniques. It makes it easier to recognize when somebody's attempting to exert undue influence. And a lot of times people will do this knowing that somebody else isn't any the wiser. And for some reason, people are sheepish and they'll listen. And then again, like I said, the philosophy of ethics. So learning about and engaging with ethical framework, ethical models, things that deal with morals, ethics. When you understand that intimately, it helps you to discern between genuine and duplicitous intentions in both personal relationships and broader interactions with other people, bosses, coworkers, and just some asshole that may be lying to you through his teeth on the streets. When you build knowledge in these areas, you enhance your resilience against various forms of and attempts at subconscious manipulation. So it's basically, hang on, okay. It's basically up to you to educate yourself. It all comes down to having to put in the work to educate yourself, having to put in the work to do the inner work, whether it's healing yourself or developing yourself or transcending certain animal urges or whatever it is. Without putting in the work, it's never going to happen. So since the subconscious mind doesn't have any inherent protection mechanisms, can't discern, can't tell truth from fiction, any of that stuff, it all comes from here. It's all right here. It's all you. It's all you. So you have to educate yourself to a sufficient level, to an adequate level, that where you feel like, or you have an adequate degree of conscious filters that will protect you from the influences of those that know more about humans than most humans know about themselves. See, that's the trick, or that's the problem. Is the reason why I'm teaching this and explaining this stuff is because I recognize that we don't inherently know these things about ourselves. Most people don't take the time to learn this stuff about themselves. Yet these are the places and spaces where the evil cabal and all of their minions and all of their workers, these are the places and spaces where they seek to manipulate you the most profoundly. Because, well, what was it that I said? To control them, you have to deceive them at the most foundational level of their being. You know, what they believe and what they perceive. And if they can control your mind, your ass will eventually follow. It just basically works that simple. So that's my presentation for the subconscious mind. Take care, everyone.